Imagine standing in a valley where fear itself seems to have taken form, where thousands of men tremble, paralyzed by the shadow of a single figure. A giant towers over them, bronze armor glinting in the sun, every step heavy with the promise of destruction. This is the story of a battlefield where courage and faith are tested against impossible odds, where a young shepherd, untrained in the art of war, steps forward to confront the impossible. In that moment, the fate of a nation rests not in the swords of men, but in the heart of one boy who refuses to be intimidated, whose eyes burn with determination, and whose faith will change the course of history. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The valley stretched endlessly, dust rising from the feet of the Israelite soldiers as they shifted nervously, their armor heavy, their hearts heavier. Across from them, the Philistine army stood in grim formation, a living wall of intimidation, and at their forefront, the giant laughed, a sound that echoed over the hills and into the hearts of every man standing there. The Israelites dared not move. Every man knew the stories of Goliath, the tales of his strength and the futility of facing him. And yet, in that moment of despair, a young shepherd named David entered the camp, carrying only a small satchel of provisions, his hands calloused from tending sheep, his eyes bright and unshaken. The soldiers whispered among themselves, astonished and wary. Who was this boy to even question the giant? But David's presence carried a quiet certainty, a courage untouched by fear, and his gaze never wavered from the looming shadow of Goliath across the valley. David stepped onto a small rock, the rough surface pressing against his feet, and raised his voice so the soldiers could hear him. "Who is this Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" he asked, his tone steady yet commanding, cutting through the murmurs of fear. Some soldiers turned to him, eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief and curiosity, while others shook their heads, unable to reconcile the audacity of a boy with the terror that gripped them. Yet David did not falter. He told them of the lions and bears that had threatened his flock, of how he had struck them down with God's help, and how the same God would deliver them from the hand of this giant. His words spread through the camp like a spark in dry grass, stirring something that had long been buried under fear, hope, courage, and a reminder that strength is measured not in height or armor, but in heart and faith. Word of David's bravery reached the ears of the king, and he summoned the boy into his tent. King Saul, tall and commanding, studied David with curiosity and caution. The boy's youth and small frame seemed inadequate for the task, and yet his eyes radiated a confidence and conviction that could not be ignored. Saul offered his armor, the bronze plates heavy and cumbersome, the helmet almost swallowing David's head. But David shook his head and removed it, refusing to rely on tools he did not understand. Instead, he chose 5 smooth stones from a nearby brook and his faithful sling. This was his weapon, not one forged by men, but wielded with precision and faith. Saul watched silently, a mixture of skepticism and admiration in his eyes. The boy's courage was unshakable, a quiet storm in the midst of fear, and the fate of the coming battle rested now on his shoulders, guided by something far greater than mere human might. Across the valley, the giant towered over all, smirking as he caught sight of the boy. "Am I a dog, that you come to me with sticks?" he roared, his voice booming across the fields, confident in the size of his armor, the weight of his spear, and the fear he had instilled in thousands. David did not flinch. His small frame seemed almost insignificant, yet he held himself with unyielding resolve. "You come to me with sword and spear," he declared, "but I come in the name of the Lord of hosts, whom you have defied. Today, the Lord will deliver you into my hands." Every word echoed with purpose, and for the first time, the soldiers dared to hope. The clash of faith against might was about to begin, and the valley held its breath. David ran toward the giant, his legs carrying him with a speed born of focus and determination. He swung his sling and released a single, smooth stone. Time seemed to stretch as the stone arced through the air, glinting in the sunlight, until it struck the giant's forehead with a solid, unerring impact. Goliath staggered, eyes wide in disbelief, and then fell face first to the ground. The soldiers on both sides froze for a heartbeat, processing the impossible. David seized the giant's sword, and with one decisive strike, he ended the threat. A roar of triumph erupted from the Israelites, a sound that echoed across the valley and chased away fear, replacing it with exhilaration and relief. One boy had done what generations of men could not, and it was not by strength alone. It was by courage, precision, and faith. The Philistine army, stunned by the sudden fall of their champion, fled in disarray. The Israelite soldiers pursued, banners waving, hearts pounding with newfound confidence. David stood in the center, proud but humble, his small frame now a symbol of courage that would be remembered for ages. As he returned to his village, the townspeople welcomed him with tears and laughter, embracing the boy who had changed the course of their history. Yet David remained grounded, understanding that the victory belonged to the Lord who had guided his hand, who had turned fear into triumph, and who had shown that even the smallest among us can rise against overwhelming odds. This is more than a story of a giant defeated. It is a lesson for every one of us about courage, faith, and the power of belief. Experience this epic journey in stunning 3D Pixar-style visuals and immerse yourself in the timeless tale of David and Goliath. Before we end, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Download the story now, witness courage in action, and let this tale inspire you to face your own giants, no matter how impossible they may seem.